Hi YouTube, it's Kathy, and this is my weekly entertainment wrap-up for June 25th through July 1st. This week I read 4 books, I watched 3 shows, I watched 2 movies, and I listened to 1 book. I obviously didn't plan that 4, 3, 2, 1, but I was delighted when I saw that it had happened. Also, this is the second time I'm filming the first, 4 items on this list, because I'll show you exactly what my camera captured the first time I told it to film this video. Yeah, a whole 3 seconds before it just cut out and didn't tell me it wasn't filming until my camera just turned off and told me to change the battery, even though I just put in a fresh battery, so I might have to buy a new camera soon. As you might be able to guess, this week I was trying to finish up some things for the Queer Lit Readathon because obviously that ended on Friday. And although I didn't read everything on my TBR, I did read enough things that I crossed off every single square on the bingo board, so I'm a happy gal. First this week I finished We Used to Be Friends. This one is told in an interesting format because it's told from the perspective of 2 different best friends going through a best friend breakup. However, we're seeing the perspective of one of them linearly through time as we experience it, and seeing the perspective from the other one in reverse. I believe we started out with the perspective of James, and we got her perspective during the summer after senior year, and then we went to the perspective of Kat the summer before senior year, and then as they alternated, their timelines did this and then eventually crossed over. So you got some answers to things you learned in different chapters, and you got to see how certain things fell apart, but obviously these characters don't exactly know because they don't actually communicate that well. The queer aspect of this one is Kat was dating a boy, something goes wrong there, and a few months later she ends up dating a girl, which previously is not a thing that she had considered until she realized that yes, she actually really does like this girl. We get to see this whole first sapphic love relationship, and it's pretty great. James, on the other hand, has been going through some things, but Kat is pretty self-centered and never really talks to James about what's going on with James, and James never really divulges this information. So Kat feels like James keeps secrets, but James feels like Kat is self-centered and just never asks. And because of this formatting, you don't really get this in a good wrapped up type of way at the end, because there is no resolution between these characters because they haven't really communicated. So if you read it or you end up reading it because the premise sounds cool, which it is, please let me know how you felt at the end of it. The second book that I finished is a graphic novel for kids called the Ojja-Wojja. This one again concerns 2 best friends. The first one is an autistic girl, and she doesn't really like group projects, so she finds herself escaping to the school library, and her history teacher is like, you can't really just escape to the library, like you do have to do a project, but what I'll do is, since I'm a history teacher, I will give you a history project that you can do based on the paranormal stuff that you're reading in the library anyway, but like make it at least history adjacent, maybe some local history, kind of figure that out. She's allowed to do this with her best friend, who currently has kind of an obsession with learning about the occult, so she decides to bring that into it so they can kind of have this thing that they do together. The alphabet mafia aspect of this book is her best friend is a trans girl, which definitely comes up from time to time. There is some transphobia occasionally, and it is something that is pushed against on the page, and you get to see how this character feels about it. I thought this was fun. They got to learn some cool things about their town, and then it went in a completely different direction, and we also got to see some of the backstory of the bad guy, which is also something I always appreciate. I also started a graphic novel series called Cosmoknights. I read the first volume of this, and I can't wait for volume 2 because I really want to know what happens. This one is set in a world where if a planet has a royal family, the princess is brought up as this prize that a champion in a jousting competition could win, but it's not jousting like you think about it. It's not like horses and knights and the big jousting pole. It's basically guys in big suits beating the crap out of each other until there's only one man standing. However, those guys aren't like princes from neighboring planets or anything like that. They are in fact actually mercenaries who are hired by corporations who then get to marry off the princess to whoever they want in the company. As we meet our protagonist Pan, she is actually best friends with one of these princesses. Something happens there, and then we get a time jump where Pan actually meets some of the competitors in one of these competitions, but it goes a little bit differently than she expects, and that's all I'm going to tell you because I really, really enjoyed this. It's queer as heck, Very, very enjoyable. Cannot wait until I can read the second volume. The fourth item on this list is not actually a book per se, it is a short story, and that is The Shape of My Name by Nino Cipri. This was a short story I found online, I believe it is on the Tor.com website, and I thought it was fitting that I read something by Nino Cipri because Finna was on my maybe TBR, but I've already read it, and I prioritized other things I hadn't already read so I could check off as many squares on the bingo board as possible. Don't want to say too much about this one because it is a 22-page story if you were to put it into pages, or at least that's what I believe Goodreads or the Storygraph informed me. But what I can tell you is this one is a time travel story, and it has to do with a main character kind of coming to grips with how they were brought up, and then also coming to grips with the fact that the name they were given at birth is definitely not the name they're going to continue to take. And I'll just leave it at that. Again, it's very short, you can find it online for free. You're welcome. It was very enjoyable. The first show that I watched this week is the first 5 episodes of The Last of Us. This is something that I definitely wanted to watch as it was coming out, but then I realized that I would be away as the episodes came out and I wouldn't be able to keep up with it, and I wanted to just be able to watch it at my own pace because it seems pretty cool. If you've never heard of it, it's based on a video game, which I haven't played because I haven't played that many video games, but knowing it's based on a video game is kind of fun because you can see how they've brought in some kind of video game like movements into the camera and that type of thing. In addition, this is a sporer tale. Essentially, in 2003, global warming had brought the temperature up enough that mushrooms were basically able to become sort of sentient. They were able to infiltrate the kind of the blood and body of people, and since they're interconnected, they can actually use these people like zombies. That's the easiest way to explain it. Just watch it if you want to know more. And what I really love about this series is not only are we following these main people and what their objective is, but we're also basically getting these side quests and learning all of these different things about these other characters. This is an absolutely devastating world, and I am really intrigued to see what is going on with the rest of these characters. Also, I was very particularly interested in seeing the 3rd episode, which, if you know, is the one with Nick Offerman, because I know that the internet lost their shit over this episode and were so mad, and they were like, oh my goodness, the people that made the game are gonna be so mad that they did this thing. And it's like, the guy that wrote the game is the guy that wrote the series, and also the thing that people are mad about is canon. Yes, that character was queer. Get over yourselves. And yes, I did have to fight back tears in that episode, if you were wondering. This week I also watched a couple of episodes of The Stranger, which is something we started 2 or 3 weeks ago. We only watched episodes 2 and 3. And basically it's this small English town. These 2 girls have shown up and they've started telling people different secrets. Sometimes they're blackmailing them, sometimes they aren't. And you're basically trying to figure out why this is occurring, and you're kind of seeing all of these threads between these different people around town. And it's early enough in it that I just don't really know what the overarching thing is, but I am very intrigued to see how these different little things are going to play out because there's so many different players in this. Also in the 2nd episode, I found out that Anthony Head is in this, or as North American people know him, Anthony Stewart Head. And I found out the reason behind that whole difference is when he's in America, he has to go by Anthony Stewart Head because of the Stage Actors Guild. You have to have a certain name that nobody else really has. And there's already a Tony Head and an Anthony Head in SAG, whereas when he's in Britain, he can just use the name he wanted to use anyway. So, if you were ever wondering about that, that's why. Thank you to Taryn, my best friend, because I brought this up to her and she's like, oh yeah, it's because of this. I'm like, oh, cool. Anthony Head is also in the other show that I watched because I started watching the first 3 episodes of the 3rd season of Ted Lasso, which is absolutely adorable. I freaking love this show. I'm very sad that this is the last season, but also this is exactly how many seasons they wanted to do. So I find it very cool that they were like, yeah, it is very popular, but this is what we want to do. And also some people have theorized that maybe some people will get spin-offs. I don't know who that's going to be. I haven't watched the whole series. However, I did once meet one of the staff writers for this season, and when I realized that he was writing for this season, I got very excited for him, so that's cool. I mean, it's not like we're even friends or anything, we just literally met and we're in the same room for an hour during a pod con. I want to say in 2018 or 2019, but I got to meet him and have conversations in person. So overall, thought that was very cool. I think I actually only watched the first 2 episodes of this. I didn't watch 3. I think I said 3, but I watched 2. The first movie I watched, I didn't actually watch all the way through, and it's because it was a rewatch. I was going through other people's Instagram stories and then saw somebody else's TikTok where somebody had taken the song Video Killed the Radio Star, but done it to the stylings of Jonathan Larson, which obviously made me want to go watch Tick Tick Boom. And even though I only watched about half of it before the people we were staying with came home, I, definitely cried, because there are sections of that movie that will just always make me cry. In particular, Sunday. That song is why I cried this time. If you've seen it, you know. It's just so lovely. I love this movie. It was so well done. I will watch it many, many times in the future, I'm sure. Guess whose camera battery is about to die again? It's mine! I'm gonna change the battery. The other movie I watched this week was another rewatch, something I've seen many times before, and that's 10 Things I Hate About You. Yesterday was my roommate's birthday, and at the end of the night we decided we're just going to put on a movie that everyone has seen before so we can still enjoy it. Still enjoy the experience of going back 24 years in time to 1999 to this specific movie, but also be able to talk through it. And there's just so many things from this movie that I can just still quote and keep quoting. My camera battery died again, and I just really enjoy it. I'm having major camera issues. It died again. 10 Things I Hate About You is loosely based on Taming of the Shrew. You don't ever have to have read that Shakespeare play to enjoy it. It is very entertaining. There are some things in it that have not aged well, but for the most part I have a lot of nostalgia to these characters and certain actors, and it's so fun to see them so little. And also just so devastating to think of what Heath Ledger could be doing now if he were still with us. The audiobook I listened to this week is Arsenic and Adobo. This is actually something that somebody in my comments was talking about a little while ago, and I knew I had to check it out because it is a cozy mystery that is also a murder mystery that is also very, very foodie, and I enjoy all of that. Essentially, our main character works at the same restaurant as her aunt, who owns the restaurant, and her grandmother, and it's been having a little bit of troubles. Also, she had a little bit of troubles working in Chicago, and a situation there that ended, so she's come back to kind of help them out. However, an ex-boyfriend, who is now a food critic, comes in, passes out while he's there, and then his father-in-law thinks that they actually murdered him, so they have to try to clear their name. It's a wild ride. I really enjoyed it. Apparently it's the first in the series, and I would definitely read more from the series because I had a lot of fun with this. I had some ideas as to who the culprit might be, but it was fun to see it actually play out. That's it for this week. If you've read, watched, or listened to any of these, let me know about it down in the comments below. On the way down to the comments, if you hit that subscribe button, that would be very nice of you. If you don't feel like leaving a comment but want to make sure that I know you were here, just leave me an emoji or a smiley face if you happen to be on your keyboard. Some people have asked if there's a way to financially support this channel, so I set up a Kofi account, which is a digital tipping service. The link for that, as always, is down below. You can like and share this as you see fit, and I will see you very soon. Bye!